Good afternoon, family. Thanks for checking out today's video. If you are new here, my name is Jonathan, and I created this channel as a way to record my progress as I work towards my goal of losing 300 pounds. If you'd like to join the family, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below. Also, click on the bell icon so you get alerted when I go live or post new videos. If you'd like to participate on the discussion, you can join me most weekdays where I go live on YouTube around 4 p.m. Central Time. Or outside of YouTube, you can consider joining the Discord I've created. There is a link for that down in the description below. Also down in the description below is a link to a Pinterest board. That's a great place for you guys to see some of the recipes that I've been enjoying as I work towards my goal. Today is day 907 of my challenge to lose 300 pounds. And so far, through a combination of extended water fasting and a whole food, plant-based, salt, oil, sugar-free diet, I have been able to lose nearly 250 pounds so far. If anybody has any non-scale victories they'd like to share, I'd love to hear your non-scale victories. If you have any on-scale victories, I love hearing those as well. If you are struggling with your diet, what is causing your struggles? If you're succeeding with your diet, what are you doing to succeed? Share it with the rest of us. And at the end of the day, what are some things that you are doing that will make staying on your diet easier than the alternative? Let's go ahead and switch over here. A few people checking in are Tiny Acres, Jean, Pretty Girl's mom, Susan, Plants Only Muncher, Cindy. Hello, everybody. I hope you had a great day. Susan says, hi, everyone. Can't believe it's been 907 days. Yes, I can't believe it's been 907 days. It doesn't feel like it's been that long. But I have learned a lot in that time, and I'm happy with everything that's happened so far. Let's see. Plants Only Muncher says you're here live today. You've watched the replays the last 2 days. Well, that's great. I appreciate you checking out my older videos, and I hope that I said something that helped in those videos. So that's awesome. I appreciate you checking those out. Jean here says, good weight, John. You are holding to the process. Yes. Today is weigh-in Wednesday. I hopped on the scale and I gained, a whopping 0.2 pounds in the past week. After having such huge losses the last couple weeks, I am okay with having a 0.2 pound weight gain this week. And it was... it was great seeing the scale go down and losing those big weights those last couple weeks, but, reality had to set in, and it wasn't surprising to me. I kind of keep an eye on my weight, so I knew since last week I didn't have a big drop like I had the previous week. Carrie's checking in. Hi, Carrie. Hope everything's going great at home today. Dealing with sick kids again today. It's like a never-ending process that's going on in our household. But hopefully it's finally swept through, or it'll be finally done after today. We shall see. But yeah, the 270.2. I'm very happy to be holding on to that weight. Everything has been fitting really nice. The clothing has been fitting great. I went and bought new clothing. So Carrie says she's cleaning up carpet while we're listening. Yes, it's been a messy week at our house. Let's see. Our Tiny Acre says your gain wasn't a surprise to you either. Yeah, it's... I sit there and I think about how much I weigh, and I still have a hard time processing that it's 270 pounds and not 370 pounds. Like, for so many years, I was in that 300 to 400 pound category from the time I was 17 years old up until I was probably in my early 30s, I was bouncing around between 300 and 400. And then after that point, I started bouncing between 400 and 500 until I got up to 520 pounds. But it's just so crazy to me that it's 270 pounds. And just it's an amazing number to have. And for me to be able to hold on to that number and to not feel like I am incredibly stressed by my diet and by my weight loss is something that I never expected going into this challenge or trying when I went to losing this weight. I, in my head, thought that it was going to get tougher and tougher as time went on, because that had been my previous experience, that every diet I had been on in the past, the longer that I was on the diet, the more difficult the diet became. And that has not been the case with this diet. I get to eat such a volume of food that I don't walk around hungry all the time. I'm not starving, craving food all the time. And so I don't have that stress as part of my every day, like I had in the past when I tried to do diets. Cindy here says you lost 5 pounds last week, but you've been eating out a lot this week. You're staying compliant, but the salt and some oil may sneak up on you. Yes. And some of those things, they don't, you don't notice the effect of them right away. And that's something where I feel like that delayed response in eating something bad had also led to me crashing on so many diets in the past, where I'd be on the diet and I'd be really happy with the amount of weight I would lose, and I'd be out of town or there'd be some reason to celebrate and to go off diet or have a cheat meal. And then I would have that cheat meal thinking, oh no, I screwed up my diet, I ruined everything. And then I got on the scale the next day and that cheat meal didn't show up on the scale the next day. And it might not even show up on the scale for the next couple days. And so then you start to forget that you had that cheat meal, or you're not going to, the weight gain that you see on, day 4 or 5 after having the cheat meal, you're not as likely to attribute to the cheat meal because you had a few days where you didn't gain weight. But it takes time for your body to be affected about by having those things. Cindy says you're not going to weigh yourself for 2 weeks. That way you don't have to worry about the effect of that stuff. And that's something that's perfectly fine to do. Like, we're not, we don't have to be concerned about it all of the time, or we have to give ourselves a little bit of grace when we do have the snack accidents or those cheat meals. But we also have to push ourselves to go right back to that abstinence, right back to removing those foods from your diet. Just like somebody who is an alcoholic, if they were to have a relapse or have alcohol, the first thing that you would want them to do is to go back to abstaining from alcohol again. And that's what we have to do with this diet. It doesn't mean you have to stop drinking water, or fluids altogether. And just like with our diet, it doesn't mean we have to stop eating food altogether when we abstain from some things. We just have to make sure that the food we're eating is compliant. Our Tiny Acre says you were trying to behave, but they lied about the oil being in the food. Yeah, that's what you were saying. And then it made you sick. Yeah, that's really tough. And it's so hard to give other people control of our diet. And even when we think that they have control of it, or that they're, looking out for us, they may be ignorant to what they're actually saying, especially with as controlled as, my diet is, or as controlled as, it's crazy to think of how much I control the foods that are put in my mouth now versus how I used to act when it came to food. And so, Cindy says you've been working on your social pillar of health, and I imagine that's just trying to be more social and trying to improve uh, your social life to improve your health as well. Let's see. And our Tiny Acre says you're enjoying that your garden is coming up. That's great. Yes, the weather is getting to be that way that the gardens are popping up everywhere. We have lots of flowers blooming and all the trees are budding. And so it's definitely nice weather right now. So we'll go ahead and go over food. Since yesterday, I did a horrible job taking photos of food, so I don't have a lot. We last night were just kind of rushed with a few different things, and so we decided to make a quick dinner last night. It's one of our favorite meals. It was a little bit off from how we normally have it. I don't even know what I would call the recipe here, but we had our polenta. We normally have it with the white beans and mushrooms, but if you look at the photo here, you might notice that there are no white beans in our dish last night. When Carrie was making it, I think she just got distracted and cooked it up, and she forgot to cook or prepare the beans in it. And it wasn't until we both finished eating it that Carrie even noticed that she had forgotten to put the beans in it. I enjoyed it without the beans. It had a much more of a tomato flavor to it just because there wasn't the beans there, I guess, to cut to create a different ratio of flavors. But it was great without the beans. And just something that even with messing up the recipe, it was still really nice. Carrie says, yeah, she didn't even notice until we had both had eaten it. Yeah, I didn't. I kind of know I noticed something about the beans, but it wasn't. It didn't cross my mind that it was missing beans. When we ate it last night, but it was still real good. So if you can't find the white beans or you don't have beans, you can still make this recipe. Just one less ingredient. Like I said, I was really awful with photos. Oh, I did take this photo though, because I had made a comment yesterday that I didn't take enough photos of the fruit that I'm eating. So I had this one, it looks like a really tiny apple in my hand. They're not huge apples, but they taste amazing. I had a couple apples last night, and so I thought I'd take a photo of it because I had forgotten to do that in the past. I also had some oranges not photoed as well. Then today I had broccoli before or after. I had broccoli after I ate my oatmeal, but I had my oatmeal and then I also had broccoli. Didn't take a photo of any other food except for my oatmeal today. And then for lunch, I had 4 or 5 potatoes and another bag of broccoli that I ate today. So that was the food since yesterday. Our Tiny Acre says you've been making a lot of your dishes without beans since the doc told you not to eat them because of your gout. Yeah, I really like that dish without beans. And the last 2 days, the dishes that we've had seem to be very heavy on the tomato. And I've actually kind of enjoyed it the last couple days. Janet's asking Carrie, what did we use for the tomatoes? Janet used a 20-ounce can of diced tomatoes. Yeah, I don't know if it's that large of a can or if we use 2 cans of diced tomatoes in the recipe. I believe that we kind of follow whatever the recipe says. But our Tiny Acre says, eat some oranges for me. You love the taste of oranges, but you get hives when you eat them. That is unfortunate. Yeah, I know a few people that have different food allergies to things that I absolutely love, like onions and like you said here, having an allergy to oranges. And that would be frustrating to me to not to be able to eat something like those, like oranges. Is it all citruses that you get hives when you eat, or just oranges in particular? I imagine it would be more than just oranges. Cindy here says, yes, social interaction is healthy for your overall well-being, and they like to eat out a lot. Yes. It's tough. All social interactions seem to have turned to food. And I think a big part of it is that it gives you an environment to be social at. You have your own table, maybe your own booth, you're on your own kind of area. You can have that conversation. You don't have to go and clean up anything after you get done like you would if you were at somebody's house. And somebody else is preparing the food. Just the convenience of all of that really is appealing, and it's really how things have evolved too. Before we had all these restaurants and things, we still had social events. I don't really know what they were, like if you went to the gymnasium or where you would, like the community centers, where you would do these types of things to hang out. I remember when my mom was a kid, they would do like bunko, but that would be at like people's houses. But yeah, the appeal, or like that being really the only place where you can go out and be social, where you don't have to, like, the money you spend at a restaurant, you're getting something for your money. You're getting food, like other places that you would go to hang out, you have to like pay for the entertainment. Like if you went to a bowling alley, you got to pay to bowl. If you went to the movies, you could do that, but that's not a very social event. This seems like everything has evolved towards going to a restaurant, using food to celebrate. And it'd be great if we could figure out some other way or some other, solution to that. And, for you, where you want to have that social interaction, and I believe it's very important. I know that, I think it's Dean Ornish talks a lot about, love, having love in your life and that being important. That maybe it might take going to those events and just having water and surviving through with just having water. And then, after having that experience, being able to look back and say, I survived that experience, or, and then use that to, build up to the next one, things like that. But I know it's tough in social situations. Carrie here says that with the recipe for our white beans and polentas, that she doubles the mushroom and tomato portion. So we use 2 14-ounce cans of no salt added diced tomatoes when we make our recipe. Our Tiny Acres says you can eat lemons and grapefruit, but it's just specifically oranges that you have the hives from. That's crazy. And Janet says that with her, when she makes the polenta, she adds onion and garlic. I'm sure that would be great, because I think that the recipes call for onion and garlic powder. So having just actual onion and garlic in it would be just as good. Our Tiny Acre says you need to make more salsa from the last of last year's tomatoes. You're almost out of the salsa that you already made. That's great that you're able to make your own food. And I think that it's so important for us to realize how much of a difference that makes, taking back control of our food and of our diet. I had a professor in college that would talk about how you could eliminate all traffic accidents if you were to just change the rules of the road. Everybody gives up their safety and their security for the convenience of being able to drive down the highway at 70 miles an hour. But being able to drive down the highway at 70 miles an hour also means that when there's accidents or things happen on the road, there's a higher probability that somebody's going to be injured severely or pass away from those injuries. And if we wanted to, we could eliminate the possibility of us having so many traffic accidents. But in order to do that, we would have to make the speed on the highways go from 70 miles an hour down to 15 miles an hour. And we'd have to make cars, instead of allowing them to be made out of aluminum, require them to be made out of 100% steel. And by doing that, you eliminate those deaths, and so but we give that up because we don't want to travel at 15 miles an hour when we can travel at 70. And I think of my diet that same way, is that when you're driving down the road, you get to control the speed that you're going at. You get to decide whether you're going 15 miles an hour or 50 miles an hour or 100 miles an hour. And with regard to our diet, before, when I used to eat, I was going much faster down the road. Now, we control all of the produce that we bring into our house. We process the foods, we blend it ourselves, we do anything that needs to happen as far as preparation. We mostly handle ourselves. So we're driving down the highway at 15 miles an hour, trying to, live as long as possible. I'm more concerned about making the trip, I'm more concerned about making it to the end of the journey than I am how fast I can get to the end of the journey. And when, there's other people out there that they might be controlling some of their food, but then they're going out to eat once a week, then they're driving down the highway at 30 miles an hour. And then there's other people that are, going out to eat all of the time, or, like how I was eating. And that's like driving down the road at 70 miles an hour. Or how I was eating was more like I wasn't even in control of the car. I was letting other people drive the car. So I was sitting in the back seat while I was letting the restaurants drive the car, and they don't care how fast the car goes, because if it crashes, they're not the ones that are going to pay for the damages that happen, or they're not the ones that are putting their lives at risk. So, in a way, when I was eating out all of my meals, I was just going faster and faster down that highway, risking my life more and more for that convenience of just being able to drive through and pick up a bag of food, or call up a pizza place and have the pizza delivered to my door. All of those things were putting me at risk, but the convenience of having those things seemed to outweigh the risk for me at the time, based on the knowledge of the things I had. Carrie says that she struggles with going out to eat because all of her mom's friends want to do that. They just want to go out and eat and drink and hang out. Again, it's that you just want to hang out, but the only places that there are to hang out are restaurants, and restaurants have happily filled that role for people because they make money by allowing people to order food and then hang out for an extra hour afterwards. And so, yeah, it's really tough when that's where people want to go. Carrie says that she ends up tending to bring her own food, and then joke that it's nerdy and healthy when people ask her about it. Yeah, but the first time that Carrie did that, it was much more nerve-wracking and much more like, oh, I don't know how this is going to go. How are they going to react? And then she did it the first time, and they reacted maybe more positive than she expected them to, or it didn't it wasn't a bad experience. It ended up being a good experience. So then the next time they went to hang out, it was easier to say, hey, I'm going to bring my own dressing, or I'm going to bring my own whatever, my own potato, something, and our Tiny Acre said, yeah, you had friends, and that was the reason you had the slip this last weekend. And I think for me, what has been so great about this diet is that every slip I've had, I've been able to get right back on diet. I think that the best thing you can do is get right back on diet, and try to get that food that you ate that was junk food through your system. I think that the mistake too many people make is that when they have food that is not on plan is that they think, well, now I shouldn't eat. I shouldn't eat because I screwed up my calories for the day, or I screwed up my diet. And so now I have to punish myself by not eating for the next 12 hours. And in reality, the best thing you could do would be to get that food out of your system. And the only way you're going to get the food out of your system is by pushing it through with more clean, healthy food. Let's see. Our Tiny Acre says, you've been trying to make more and more of what you have. You're working out, figuring out how to make ketchup with the Roma tomatoes you have left. Carrie says that she makes pizza sauce and calls it ketchup. It's the polenta pizza recipe on the Pinterest board. So that's what, yeah, we make pizza sauce and tell the kids it's ketchup. Cindy says, you think I was on the Autobahn? Yes, I was on the Autobahn, and I had, somebody else driving the car for me. It wasn't just, just breakneck speed. At any moment, I could have crashed and burned and had a heart attack, and nobody would have thought twice about it. Our Tiny Acre says that you just bought a tool for making your veggie sushi easier. What kind of tool is that? To like slice up the veggies, or to roll the sushi roll? Oh, Carrie was saying that they don't want to just go to restaurants, but they go to other people's homes and potlucks. Okay. And our Tiny Acre says lots of water and healthy foods. That's what I would recommend after having a snackcident. That would be definitely my recommendation for that. I don't have a whole lot more to update today, and I'm real happy with how the weigh-in went, and I was excited to see that I maintained that weight loss because I'm at the lowest weight I've been since I was 17 years old. So it's really awesome for me to continue to, see the scale stay at this weight, and hopefully next week go down even further. So, but I want to thank you guys for all of the support through the last 907 days. It has helped immensely get me to closer to my goal here. And it really helps having you guys supporting me. So thanks, guys. If you have not subscribed to the channel, make sure that you do get subscribed to the channel. If you've not clicked on the bell icon, click on the bell icon so you get alerted when I go live or post new videos. And if you have not started your diet yet, get started right now. There's nothing coming up that's more important than your health or your overall well-being. There's nobody who reaches their goals, looks back, and wishes they would have started sooner. All right. You guys have a great day.